Oklahomans finally getting a shot at open carry.
Some people probably look at it as Old West style, but myself, I don't think so.
For protection, because it's just a bit out of control in Tulsa right now.
A new gun law starts in just 6 days.
And business is firing up in the days before the open carry law takes effect.
But it's still a target of criticism.
I lived in Oklahoma City for a long time. Yeah, that would worry me.
Oh, well, I wouldn't allow it. I wouldn't allow guns coming in here. I don't want that.
Tonight, we aim to answer your questions about open carry, how the law works, how it'll be enforced, and what it means for you and your family.
It is the user's responsibility to be trained. My goal is to go home safe.
This is a Fox 23 special. Open carry. Are we ready?
Locked, loaded, and ready. Or are we? On November 1st, Oklahomans will have an open carry option.
Indeed, they will. With people with a proper license can carry a handgun, and they no longer have to conceal it. In the next hour, we will give you an in-depth look at the new law, and we'll also walk you through how to get your license, understanding your rights as well.
We'll also examine how law enforcement is responding to open carry and the importance of safety and defense if you choose to carry a gun with you. But first things first, before you can put a gun in a holster and carry it around town, the law says you have to have a handgun license.
And if you already have a concealed carry permit, it will apply to open carry as well, starting next Thursday.
But if you don't have a license and you're interested in open carry, Fox 23's Ian Silver explains what it takes to get that license.
The process for getting an open carry license is pretty much the same as getting a concealed carry license. It generally begins early in the morning on a weekend with a cup of coffee and an 8-hour class.
We don't want to get out of sequence. We went over proper handling, safety, storage, and know your background and proper loading.
Jeff Atwell has been around guns most of his life, and yet he said even the most experienced gun owners and users will learn something they didn't know.
Well, I think the class, as far as all the legalities, proper handling, know when to shoot, know when not to shoot.
For those who have less experience with guns, like Donna Willis, a class like this is invaluable.
It makes me better prepared to help me be at ease with the gun because I'm not a person who's comfortable with it.
She worries people will think they're experts after just one day of training.
What the class is giving us are the basics for what we need, and after that, I think that we should practice more.
Now, to get your license, you also have to fire 50 rounds on a range. But what's interesting is that none of those rounds has to actually hit a target. The law only requires that you shoot without hurting yourself or anybody else. Randy Reese hopes he never has to use his weapon. He agrees practice is key for gun owners.
It's your responsibility to be comfortable shooting it. And so to see that you can shoot a weapon, I believe in, but anybody that owns a gun should shoot at least semi-regularly.
Time's going to be 5 rounds in 7 seconds.
Once you've completed the class, you'll get a certificate from the instructor, which you take to the sheriff's office in the county where you live, not necessarily where you completed the class. That's where you actually apply for your open carry license. Anyone in Oklahoma can buy a gun, but if you want to carry it, you have to have the license. You fill out an application that will be checked by the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation and the FBI. Some people don't qualify. Convicted felons, those with certain types of misdemeanors, people with protective orders against them, or those who have had a history of mental illness or substance abuse. Lying on the application could lead to a criminal charge. With the application questionnaire, you'll also have to turn in 2 copies of a passport photo and fingerprints, which will go in the national database. It's not a cheap process. $40 to $60 for the class, $10 to $20 for the passport photo, up to $25 for the fingerprints, and a $100 application fee for a 5-year license or $200 application fee for a 10-year license. In all, you're looking at spending between $175 and $300.
Yeah,
but Randy sees it as a smart investment.
Like a lot of other things, if you're going to have a driver's license, you have a car, you buy a car. It takes a big investment, and so typically you'll take care of your car.
If your background check comes back clean, you should get your handgun license in about 60 days. Once you have your handgun license, the law requires those openly carrying to carry that weapon in a holster on their hip. Jeff and Donna say they made the right decision to get ready for the new law.
I am not a fan of open carry, but there is obviously nothing I could do about it, so I just have to get prepared to protect myself.
Maybe I'll probably come back for more advanced training, gun training classes eventually.
Once you have your handgun license, the law treats it pretty much the same as a driver's license. Anytime you're carrying your gun, you're required to have your handgun license with you. And if a law enforcement officer asks to see it, you're going to be required to show them. Reporting in downtown Tulsa, Ian Silver, Fox 23 News.
Now again, Oklahoma law forbids carrying a handgun either openly or concealed without the proper license. Plus, there are some other rules that must be followed, including the guns not allowed under open carry. This shows just some of them. However, you can carry any handgun, 45 caliber or less, no more than 16 inches in length, so no open carry for handguns over 45 caliber, no rifles or assault rifles. You can own any of these guns, though, in Oklahoma, but you will need additional permits to carry anything over 45 caliber.
And Clay, the big question is, how will police know if someone has the proper license to carry a gun? That's just one of the key questions we will explore in this hour for you. And we want to hear your questions about the open carry law, because a lot of you do have questions. There's a lot of confusion. Talk to us on Facebook. You can find us at facebook.com/Fox23News. Simply comment on the update about open carry or tweet us at Fox23. And also still ahead in our open carry special. Guns are a booming business, but some local store owners are not comfortable with them.
Oh, I don't like that. I do not like that.
We're going to hear why they're willing to lose a few customers over the new law. And we're asking the tough questions for you as well. A panel of experts that you see right here, they're in our studio. They're going to have a discussion with us of how the new law will be enforced. But first, it's your turn to test your open carry knowledge. Right there, there's a question on your screen, and it says, where can citizens not carry a gun, either openly or concealed by law in Oklahoma? Is it A, airports, B, public meetings, C, liquor stores, or D, all of the above? We're going to have that answer for you right after the break.
Special edition of Fox 23 News. You Decide 2012.
And welcome. Tonight we are committed to bringing you complete coverage of local, state, and national election results.
Up-to-the-minute results will scroll across the bottom of your screen and also on Fox23.com, as well as Facebook and Twitter.
Fox 23 has a team of reporters on all the major races across Green Country. We will be checking in with them throughout the next hour and a half. First, let's get to the biggest race of the night.
Yes, that of course is the race for the White House. The results in the state of Oklahoma was called very, very early on. Fox News and the Associated Press was saying that Mitt Romney has won our state with 70% of the votes here.
Let's bring in Fox 23's Adam Palooka now for a closer look at how the presidential race is playing out across the country, Adam.
Hey, Clay, all along we have told you guys that this race is all about a couple of key states, some swing states where the presidential candidates have been heavily campaigning over the past several months. Now, some states have already been decided, but no real big surprises early on. Let's take a look at some of the early swing states. These are results in Florida. Right now, it's showing a 50-50 tie between President Obama and Mitt Romney, with 82% of precincts reporting.
Well, time now for an update in our coverage of You Decide 2010.
Yeah, throughout the evening, we'll be bringing you the latest results from today's important midterm elections. Our goal is to take care of this during commercial breaks so you don't miss any of the shows you are watching tonight.
That's right. Polls closed about 9 minutes ago, and those votes are being counted right now. And soon we'll know who is ahead in the historic race for governor.
Everybody's watching that. We're bringing you team coverage all night long. Fox 23's Abby Alford is in Oklahoma City at the Democratic watch party for candidate Jerry Askins.
That's right. And Fox 23's Jana Clark is also in Oklahoma City at the watch party for Republican Mary Fallon. But we begin with Abby. And Abby, what's the mood like there?
You've heard the campaign promises.
I want to build manufacturing jobs in this country again.
And what we've seen over the last 4 years is something I don't want to see over the next 4 years.
You've seen the ads.
If Obama would stand up to China.
You're weighing your options on the big race, the local races, and on Vision 2.
If they can fix it, I think it's worthwhile.
I think citizens would be a little more reluctant to spend money at this time.
In just a few days, you head to the polls. Tonight, Fox 23 prepares you for what you need to know before you vote about your candidates. the tough questions on the ballot, and what you can expect on Election Day. You Decide 2012. This is a Fox 23 special.
And in the next hour, our goal is to help you be more informed and better prepared when you head to vote for the general election.
Yeah, and early voting started today, continues tomorrow and Monday at your county election board. Of course, all polling places will be ready for voters next Tuesday. Coming up, you'll hear from the congressional candidates in Districts 1 and 2, plus the very latest in the tight race for president.
We will also look into the Vision 2 propositions on the Tulsa County ballot, including a panel of experts that are here to take your questions. And we'll examine the factors that inspire Tulsans to make their vote count. Early voting kicked off enthusiastically today in Tulsa County, we might add.
Oh yeah, the nice weather really set the stage as people stood in long lines outside the election board downtown. Across Oklahoma, this was really the scene with better than expected turnout for early voting. It is now too late to register for the general election or to get an absentee ballot. But again, early voting continues tomorrow and again on Monday. Here are the hours for early voting as at the County Election Board statewide tomorrow, 8 to 1. Monday, 8 to 6. The Tulsa County Election Board is at 555 North Denver. Then polling places will be open Tuesday from 7 to 7 as always. To help you find your election board or polling place, look for links on fox23.com. So as you'd expect, the race getting the lion's share of the attention is the race for the White House.
Of course, ahead in the hour, we will take a closer look at the latest polls in the presidential race, which has proven to be pretty close, and we're going to hear all about the states that could actually decide the race and the setbacks the election could face on Tuesday. But first, to one of the biggest local races is who will fill the District 1 congressional seat in Washington.
We saw a surprising defeat in the Republican primary back in June. You remember? 5-term Congressman John Sullivan was defeated by newcomer Jim Bridenstine, who received 54% of the vote. Sullivan was adamantly opposed to the construction of a casino in Broken Arrow. After the primary, he said he would support Bridenstine. Bridenstine is a veteran combat pilot with the Navy Reserve. He served in Iraq and Afghanistan. He faces Democrat John Olson, also a veteran of the war in Afghanistan. He's a former Army drill sergeant and father of 6. Independent candidate Greg Allen is also on the ballot.
Congressional District 1 is made up of all of Tulsa, Washington, and Wagner counties, and a small part of Creek County. And Fox 23's Adam Paluca talked with each one of the candidates running for the District 1 seat.
We start tonight with Jim Bridenstine and his stand on key issues.
Jim Bridenstine is not the Republican many thought would be in the race for Oklahoma's 1st District House seat 1 year ago. In June, he defeated 5-time incumbent Congressman John Sullivan in the Republican primary, a result that surprised many, but not Bridenstine.
I think a lot of people were frustrated with Washington as a whole, and there was a lot of anti-incumbency sentiment. And I was able to tap into that.
Bridenstine is a veteran who is still a member of the United States Naval Reserve.
I'm a Navy pilot. I flew combat in Afghanistan in 2002 off an aircraft carrier called the USS Abraham Lincoln. Flew combat in 2003 in Iraq.
He says his philosophy in Washington would be simple.
We need liberty. We need limited government and free markets. We need low taxes and low regulation.
The Jinx High School grad favors tax system reform that he says could get America and Oklahoma's economy back on track.
When you lower the rates, that helps small business. 50% of people in America are employed by small business, and we need those small businesses to grow so that we can lift, the working poor into the middle class and have more taxpayers.
He would also be in favor of abolishing the president's health care reforms if he is elected.
It has to start with the repeal of Obamacare because it's not workable. It doesn't control costs. In fact, it increases costs.
The married father of 3 says he has a strong faith, and that gives him confidence about the election night result.
I think I am right where I need to be. I think I got here because there's a plan for my life.
All right, turning now to the Democratic side and University of Tulsa alum John Olson. Here's what he had to say about his stance on the big issues of 2012.
For Democrat John Olson, the reason he decided to run for Oklahoma's 1st District congressional seat can be traced back to a single moment, the fight over raising the debt ceiling last summer.
Training across the entire Army Reserve was canceled. Now, as a reservist, that had an effect on me, it had an effect on my unit, it had an effect on everybody else in the Army Reserve. And it put a lot of pressure on soldiers getting ready to deploy.
Olson knows that if he's elected, he'll have to cross the aisle at home and in Washington.
I live in Oklahoma. there's no way that I could get elected without creating consensus between Republicans and Democrats.
He says his first priority, if he wins people's votes, will be to fix the economy.
To get the recovery moving faster, we need to, one, cut wasteful spending and reduce the deficit where we can. We need to raise revenues to do that in a reasonable way. And we need to invest where it makes sense in education, in energy, and in our infrastructure.
But what he won't do is repeal President Obama's federal health care overhaul.
Moving back is not an option, because where we were was a shrinking number of people with insurance coverage taking care of and paying for emergency room care for a growing number of people who couldn't afford it.
Olson is married and a father to 6 children. He says as Election Day approaches, he's ready to roll up his sleeves.
I'm excited. I don't think that I'm nervous. I think that I'm looking forward to it, the opportunity to influence some change in Washington, in our country, in our state.
Now, independent candidate Craig Allen is a commercial airline pilot, a man who's used to having quite a view, shared a few of them with Fox 23's Adam Palooka.
Independent 1st District congressional candidate Craig Allen says he's running because politics needs a change.
I got into this race because I think it's time to have a third-party candidate. If you only have 2 sides to the story, a third every once in a while makes a little bit more sense.
He says if elected, his #1 priority will be to shrink the federal government.
I really, truly do believe, and I don't think there's any secret, that government has gotten incredibly huge. And I've always heard this term, especially the last 2 or 3 years, is too big to fail. It's the perfect example of too big to fail. It's failed.
Consolidating federal agencies that often overlap in mission and focus is one way he believes Congress can do that.
We have the FBI, we have the CIA, you have ATF, you have all these different agencies. We could probably come up with one and put it all together.
Allen, a commercial airline pilot by day, is also focused on putting more Oklahomans back to work in jobs that suit their needs and talents.
The underemployed is probably by dollars much more important than the unemployed.
He says he'd cut out regulations that he says make it expensive for companies to make goods on American soil.
Regulations from government become so big, there's more and more outsourcing. There's less and less American jobs.
Another focus for the Tulsan would be to refocus federal health care reforms that he says aren't working.
The people that need to sit down and do it are the doctors. And I never see any doctors have a big panel and say, this is what we can do to do things better to provide great health care.
And as for being an independent in partisan Washington, he's not worried about being seen as an outsider.
Well, I think I can work with anybody.
Still ahead in tonight's You Decide 2012 special, Vision 2. The proposal supporters say would change the face of Tulsa for the better, but can we afford it? We have a panel with us tonight to sort through how your tax dollars would be spent.